I know it may sound utterly implausible, but I assure you it is the unvarnished truth. For a brief suspended moment, I left this earthly realm. Yet the true miracle was not my return from death. It was the extraordinary encounter I had with Lord Jesus, who revealed to me what will transpire this coming August. Imagine yourself standing in the midst of a sprawling wheat field, where diligent farmers have been sowing seeds since January. Not everyone, however, has the patience to wait until the harvest. Many, driven by impatience or a faltering trust, abandon the fields prematurely, never witnessing the transformative grace reserved for those who persevere until August. My name is Edmund Carlyle, and at 71 years old, I once believed my time had nearly run out. Not long ago, had someone inquired about my life, I might have replied with quiet resignation. I had spent almost an entire year confined to this hospital, a place whose sterile walls and ceaseless beeping machines replaced the natural rhythms of a life once spent under open skies. I had grown so accustomed to the isolation that I scarcely remembered the feel of a cool breeze against my skin or the comforting scent of rain-soaked earth after a storm. Each day, I lay on a rigid hospital bed in a small, unadorned room, its white walls offering little solace. The nurses, kind and attentive, did their best to ease my suffering, often bringing a warm cup of tea when the chill crept into my bones. Yet, despite their care, an unfillable void persisted. I recalled my younger days as a humble farmer, a man who found his purpose in the land, who reveled in the simple joy of nurturing crops, and who cherished every moment spent in the golden light of dawn. Those days seemed distant now, replaced by the monotony of hospital life and the relentless passage of time. Then, one fateful evening, as a fierce storm unleashed its fury outside, everything changed. Thunder roared and jagged streaks of lightning tore through the night sky, as if the heavens themselves were in turmoil. The hospital's corridors seemed to dissolve into a maelstrom of shadow and light, and every sound, the incessant whir of machinery, the hurried footsteps of the staff, and even my own labored breathing, grew overwhelming. In the midst of that chaos, my body began to betray me. A sudden, violent seizure seized hold, and I felt myself slipping away, as though my frail, aged form was being abandoned for good. In that terrifying instant, I experienced something utterly surreal. I found myself hovering above my own inert body, suspended in a space between life and death. The frantic sounds of the emergency room became a distant murmur, and in their place, an otherworldly silence took over, a silence so profound it seemed to echo the secrets of the cosmos. No longer did I feel the pain or the fever that had plagued me. Instead, an overwhelming sense of peace enveloped my being. It was then that I noticed a radiant beam of light, a glow that was not born of the harsh hospital fluorescence, but of something far purer and celestial. Drawn irresistibly toward it, I allowed myself to be pulled into a tunnel of shimmering brilliance. As I traveled through that ethereal passage, memories of my youth unfurled before my inner eye with astonishing clarity. I saw a young boy running barefoot through sunlit fields, free and unburdened by the cares of the world. I recalled my mother's tender smile by the warmth of a crackling fire, and the proud, rough hands that had learned the art of hard labor in the fields. Alongside these cherished recollections, however, came visions of my missteps, the moments when selfishness had won out over compassion, and regrets had been sown as deeply as any seed in the soil. Amid this cascade of memories, a harmonious melody, at once familiar and ineffable, resonated through the tunnel, a symphony that seemed to be composed not by earthly hands, but by the very essence of light and serenity. Emerging from the tunnel, I found myself in a breathtaking field bathed in a soft, golden glow reminiscent of an everlasting sunset. The wildflowers bloomed in abundance, their delicate fragrance mingling with the sweet scent of ripening wheat. And there, in the midst of that radiant landscape, stood the figure of my beloved wife, Rosalind. Time had somehow reversed its toll upon her. She appeared as vibrant and youthful as the day we first met, her eyes exuding a gentle strength and an unspoken tenderness. In that poignant moment, as I beheld her familiar gaze, a torrent of emotions overwhelmed me. Sorrow for the unspoken words and lost moments, and gratitude for the enduring love that had survived despite the years and hardships. Rosalind's silent expression conveyed more than words ever could. I felt a deep surge of remorse for the times when my ambition and busyness had kept me from truly cherishing her presence. In the quiet communion of our souls, she silently forgave me for every oversight and every missed opportunity. It was then that I began to understand the profound lesson of that encounter. Forgiveness is the very essence of love, and to forgive oneself is the first step toward redemption. Yet the vision was far from over. As Rosalind's serene presence faded into the luminous background, my gaze shifted to a scene that defied mortal comprehension. Before me lay an expansive field, unlike any I had ever seen, a sacred plain where farmers, clad in pristine white robes that shimmered like spun silk, diligently sowed seeds into the earth. These were not mere laborers. They were living symbols of unwavering faith, their every action performed with a reverence that transcended the ordinary. Their faces, illuminated by a divine radiance, shone with an inner joy and a steadfast hope that belied the hardships they must have endured. In this celestial landscape, the field itself became a living parable of human faith. Two distinct paths revealed themselves among the furrows and rows. One was a wide, desolate road where the soil lay cracked and barren, reflecting the despair of those who had lost their way. Along this path wandered souls weighed down by regret, individuals who had, in their moment of weakness, surrendered their hope and abandoned their fields before the promise of the harvest could be realized. Their footsteps were slow and heavy, and the wind, like a mournful whisper, carried away the echoes of their unfulfilled dreams. In stark contrast, the second path, though narrow and less trodden, vibrated with life and possibility. Here, the faithful continued their work with a quiet determination, tending to each seed with patient care, even when no immediate sign of growth was visible. Their perseverance was ultimately rewarded on the 8th return to the field. With a gentle tremor, the earth stirred, and the dormant seeds burst forth into life. Within moments, the once silent field was transformed into a vibrant tableau of towering, leafy trees and golden wheat that glistened under the resplendent light. The farmers, overwhelmed by the miracle of the harvest, broke into tears, not of sorrow, but of elation and deep gratitude for the blessings bestowed upon them. It was at that miraculous moment that a majestic figure appeared among the radiant crops, a figure whose presence eclipsed all else. Lord Jesus Christ stood before us, his countenance luminous beyond compare, his eyes reflecting a love so profound it seemed to hold the very secrets of the universe. With an outstretched hand, he opened a new vision, one that foretold the fate of humanity. In August 2025, he proclaimed, his voice resonating like a symphony of both warmth and authority, there shall be a great purification of human faith. Those who have labored with steadfast dedication from January to the time of the harvest will be richly rewarded with eternal blessings. But those who falter, who abandon hope in the face of adversity, will be swept away like chaff before the wind. Each word of his declaration struck me like a sacred fire, igniting within my soul a fierce determination and a profound sense of duty. I realized then that my journey was not meant solely for my own salvation. It was a divine commission to return to the living world and share this revelation, to warn and to inspire those who might be drifting in the shadows of despair. I was to be a messenger of hope, a herald of the eternal promise that awaited those who persevered in their faith. And then, as swiftly as the vision had unfolded, the brilliant light began to recede, and I found myself once more in the stark reality of the hospital emergency room. The cold clinical monitors that had once predicted my demise now displayed a steady, strong heartbeat. Doctors and nurses, their faces etched with disbelief and relief, crowded around my bed. The signs of my former illness had vanished, replaced by a vigor that defied all medical explanation. Whispers filled the room, some uttered in awe, others in hushed reverence, as one seasoned physician murmured, "This is nothing short of a miracle. Medicine cannot account for what we have just witnessed." I was alive, not merely returned from the brink, but reborn. Every fiber of my being pulsed with an energy that belied my 71 years. I knew in that moment that my recovery was not an anomaly or a mere quirk of fate, but a divine sign meant to reaffirm the power of faith. It was a second chance, a mandate to live with purpose and to carry forth the message of hope and perseverance that had been so clearly revealed to me. Later that day, I encountered my son, Jonathan, a pragmatic man ensconced in the relentless world of finance. To him, matters of faith had long been relegated to the realm of fairy tales and quaint superstition, a distraction from the hard realities of profit and loss. His eyes, however, betrayed a flicker of confusion as he took in the sight of me, once presumed dead, now vibrant and full of life. For a moment, the gulf between his rational skepticism and the wonder of my experience seemed insurmountable. Yet I reached out, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder, and said, "There is more to our existence than numbers and cold calculations. If you seek with an open heart, you may yet discover truths that no ledger can record." Though his expression remained uncertain, I sensed that a seed of curiosity had been planted, a possibility that he, too, might one day embrace the deeper mysteries of life. In the days following my miraculous revival, I felt an overwhelming urge to share my experience with those around me. I began recounting every vivid detail to fellow patients in hushed conversations, in the quiet corners of the hospital, where the noise of machinery gave way to the gentle murmur of hope. At first, my story was met with reserved interest, a cautious acknowledgement of the extraordinary. But as I continued, the atmosphere transformed. An elderly woman, her eyes brimming with unshed tears, whispered that she had long feared that God had forgotten her. A middle-aged gentleman, whose faith had withered under the weight of life's trials, found himself recalling a time when hope had seemed as natural as the sunrise. In each heartfelt confession, I sensed that the divine truth was rekindling a flame that many had thought long extinguished. In quiet moments of reflection by the small hospital window, I would gaze out at the twilight sky, watching as the trees swayed in a gentle evening breeze, and the fading light painted the world in hues of rose and gold. It was in those serene instants that I contemplated the vast tapestry of my life, its joys and its sorrows, its moments of despair and its miraculous awakenings. I recalled with startling clarity the agony of my final moments, the surreal detachment as I drifted away from my mortal shell, and the overwhelming beauty of the visions that had unfolded before me. All of it converged into a single, irrefutable truth, that even in the face of death, the divine is ever present, guiding us with a loving and sometimes stern hand. Since that transformative night, I have sensed a profound change within myself. My body, once frail and burdened by years of toil and sorrow, now feels infused with an almost otherworldly vitality. Every cell seems to sing with renewed purpose, and the lingering aches that had once defined my existence have all but vanished. This change is not merely physical, it is a resurrection of the spirit, a reawakening of the soul that reaffirms the timeless belief that faith is the cornerstone of a life well lived. I share these revelations not to boast of my miraculous survival, but to remind all who listen that there is a divine plan at work in every life. In our darkest moments, when despair threatens to overwhelm us, a glimmer of hope persists, a promise of renewal that lies just beyond the horizon. For those who persevere in their faith, who nurture hope even when tangible results remain unseen, the harvest of blessings will one day be abundant. Life's journey is fraught with challenges and uncertainty, yet it is also illuminated by moments of grace that defy human understanding. Looking back now, I see that every hardship, Every lonely night spent in that antiseptic hospital room was a lesson, a divine preparation for the awakening that was to come. Just as a farmer must patiently tend his crops, trusting that the fruits of his labor will eventually ripen, so too must we tend to our inner lives with unwavering determination. Our trials are the very tools that shape our character, chiseling away at our doubts and fears until only the pure light of hope remains. Thus, I now walk this earthly plane with a renewed mission, to serve as a messenger of the divine truth revealed to me on that fateful night. The prophecy for August 2025 is not a harbinger of doom, but a call to embrace a higher purpose, a reminder that true blessings are reserved for those who hold steadfast to their faith. I implore each of you to reflect deeply on the choices you make, to cling to hope even when the path ahead seems shrouded in uncertainty, and to trust that the divine plan unfolds in its own perfect time. In every heartbeat and in every breath, I carry the legacy of that sacred encounter. My life, once defined by the simple rhythms of farming and the quiet solitude of hospital corridors, has been irrevocably transformed by the light of that divine vision. May my words serve as a beacon for those who find themselves lost in the shadows of despair, a gentle reminder that even when the world seems barren and hope appears to wane, the promise of eternal grace endures. As August 2025 approaches, let us all prepare our hearts for the great purification of faith that is foretold. The path may be narrow and filled with obstacles, but for those who persevere, the rewards are beyond measure. Embrace the journey, trust in the unseen hand that guides us, and know that every moment of patience, every tear shed in silence, contributes to the eventual harvest of divine blessings. This is not merely the tale of a near-death experience or the miraculous revival of an old man. It is a testament to the enduring power of belief, a call to awaken the dormant spark of hope within each of us. No matter how frail our bodies may become or how many hardships we endure, our spirits can be reborn through faith. In the eternal dance between darkness and light, it is our perseverance that determines the measure of our harvest, a harvest of eternal abundance and divine favor. May you find the strength to endure, the courage to believe, and the wisdom to recognize that every trial is but a stepping stone on the path to everlasting grace.